I call this my triple hot fudge caramel sundae story.
Oh my.
Don't freak out. Don't freak out. Everybody needs me to make it through this. That's exactly what was going through my mind as I was stuck in a cave 100 feet below the Earth's surface. I can't breathe. I'm pinned between two rocks. There's dust billowing up in my face and getting into my teeth. No one's going to hear me. They can't hear me cry. Don't freak out. Everybody needs me to get through this. My hips were stuck in a crack. I was pinned between two rocks. My knee was bleeding out onto the cave floor. Is this it? Is this how I die? Moments before this, I was leading my team through an expedition through the Black Hills of South Dakota, where we were traveling to reach an infamous cavern known, and I'll call it for today, the Outer Space Cavern. And they called it the Outer Space Cavern because it could be described as one of those caves where if you cut off all lights and headlamps, the light fragments from your headlamp would ricochet off the particles of the cave wall, and it would appear as though you were floating amongst the stars in outer space. That's where I was taking my team. And this was just a normal expedition with your typical ropes for spelunking and getting on your hands and knees and crawling through tubes and hallways. Nothing was going wrong. It was perfect. And we were probably an hour and a half into this experience, and we just had about 50 feet left to go before we reached our destination, the Outer Space Cavern. But on the map, the next 50-foot journey was described as something called a wormhole. And a wormhole, let me describe it for you. Humans can only pass through a wormhole if you put one arm forward and one arm to your side, and you wiggle like a worm through this tube. Now, this ain't no McDonald's playpen tube that we used to crawl through as children. It's not perfectly cylinder. It is jagged rocks and various obstacles. As the team lead, I decided I would go first. And as I pushed through, this cylinder of a tube was not cylinder at all. In fact, it didn't even feel circular. It felt more like a funnel, and funnels get tighter and tighter and tighter. But I knew the map said, just keep going. I got probably halfway through this 50-foot journey when I realized that I was scraping every single part of my body up against the cave wall. And I didn't know what to do. But I decided that I must keep going. Everyone was relying on me to get through. I knew that it was tight, but I kept pushing anyways. And one push in, I felt it. It was as if the cave had caught me, and I was stuck. Taking you back to that moment, when the dust settled and I could calm my thoughts, don't freak out. I saw a little glimpse of light, and it was shining off of my headlamp. I couldn't see it before because the dust had taken up so much space. But that little space of light glimpsed onto the cracks of the wall. I could see through the little cracks a silhouette of something that seemed very familiar to me. Now let's back up for a second. When most people get ready to go into caves, a lot of them think of the dangers of caves. A lot of them think about different things. I just said, let's go see this cool outer space cavern. But most people, your thoughts are, well, okay, what lives in caves? What do you find in caves? We all know what lives in caves, right? Bats. Bats. So as I'm looking through this glimpse of light, and I see a silhouette of a family of bats just chilling, just hanging, staring me right in the face. This wasn't how I was going to die. A mouthful of bats was how I was going to die. Now, I want to add a little bit more humor to this because there's a little irony in this opportunity. It's sometimes the glimpse of light or the glimpse of hope that is exactly what we need to get us through our obstacles. And it was that motivation from seeing the bats that got me through this. But before that, you see, my name is Jon Kovach. Kovach is a Slovenian name. I am of Slovenian blood. And Slovenia is home of the vampires. You see where I'm going with this? Okay, so bear with me. If Peter Parker gets bitten by a radioactive spider and becomes Spider-Man, wouldn't it make sense that if a Slovenian man of blood was bitten by a family full of bats, that he might just become a vampire? I could become Dracula. In this moment, that was a great thought and pretty inspiring, but really what motivated me to press forward and move on was that I wasn't going to end up like the Emperor's New Groove. When the llama fell down the cliff and wedged his mouth into a hole infiltrated by bats, and the bats filled his mouth up and he went flying into the abyss. That was not going to be my doom. Even though I was pinned between rocks and stuck and could not move, I realized something in a very, very quick yet panicky way, that my feet could move. I could move my feet around. And if I could move my feet around, it's likely that I could push my feet into the ground and press up. And I would push my feet in and press up. The more that I did that, I was already bleeding. So tearing flesh was no big deal because I needed to get through. And the more that I pushed my foot down and pressed up, inch by inch became foot by foot. And I exited that cave. I was free. And in a slight moment of temptation, I could have pursued to the outer space cave. But I remembered something. There was the team behind me. I needed to go help them. Without hesitation, I then turned and yelled into the cave and helped my individuals and my teams get through that wormhole. Little by little, inch by inch, they were able to push through it too. And what surprised me the most was that when each individual made it through that experience, they felt the exact same way. They turned around and they helped the person behind them. This is amazing. Let me share with you 3 what I call mastermind methodologies that can help you get unstuck from anything. Mastermind methodology number 1 is that you can do anything. You can. Anything. When I was stuck in the cave, all I needed was to be able to move my feet, plant them, and to push forward. There was no option for retreat. There was no backup option on this vehicle. I could only go in one direction. The Vikings, when they would go to war, they would park their ships into the harbor, and guess what? They would burn the ships behind them, eliminating any option for cowardly retreat. There was no plan B. Forward and on to war they went. Growing up, my brother was actually born with slight disabilities, setting him way back, and he was unable to attain information and retain that information for technical stuff. But Garrett's dream was to become a college football player. That's what he wanted to do. And everyone advised him against it. Garrett, maybe you should try something else, or maybe you should think of other life plans. But Garrett, he was persistent. And Garrett did everything he could to become a college football player, despite the loved ones and the friends and family who told him, maybe you should try something else. But Garrett was persistent. And not only did Garrett play, but he started, and he also turned the heads of several pro scout football at his combine debut. Garrett did it. There was no plan B, despite everything else everyone ever said. So the fact in this, everybody, is that you can do anything. We can't leave the door open for opportunity to retreat. There is no plan B. Which brings me to Mastermind methodology number 2. After you have done everything that you can to achieve that which you want, when you turn around and help others get what they want, you can have anything you want in life if you help others get what they want. Thanks, Zig Ziglar. I noticed that in the cave, that when all I had to do was help one person get through that wormhole, and every single person after me followed suit. Naturally, without hesitation. They'd climb out, hoist themselves out, and they'd turn around and coach the next person through. You can get anything you want out of life if you help other people get what they want to. And Mastermind methodology number 3. That when you help other people get what they want, you've now surrounded yourself and created this team, this family, this community of people who love to help one another. I've learned that when you bring people into a room and you work on each other and you help each other get through the hardest times, don't give them the plan B. Hold them accountable. Expect their greatness and push them through that wormhole. They will always find their way through. And the results are astounding. Not only do they accelerate their successes, but they find themselves winning more and at accelerated rates. I've learned this over the years, that we can do anything if we push through it. Then when we help others, we surround ourselves with that community that gives us everything that we need to achieve that which we want most. The reason why I call this my triple scoop hot fudge caramel sundae story is that after we went back through that wormhole and exited the cave, the first thing I went to do was go eat a triple scoop hot fudge caramel sundae without my team. I needed that moment to myself. Don't freak out. Everybody needs you to make through this. The value of our life can be measured in many ways. But I promise you that as you measure your own personal value and how you overcome your personal challenges, and then immediately seek to help others in the process, you will surround yourself with many people who will do the same, who will reciprocate and perpetuate this system. Napoleon Hill said in Think and Grow Rich that a mastermind is a collective unit of people who gather together in the spirit of harmony to attain a definite purpose. And I've put this into my life in every aspect, my work, my school, my family, my friends, my relationships. And when we work together as a mastermind, we accelerate at higher, faster rates. Ladies and gentlemen, you can do it. Don't freak out. You got this. You can do it, and you can make it through. Thank you.